Here's my TLDR as to how Johns justify making use of the sex trade, despite the vast majority of them being fully aware of the degree of coercion, pimping, etc. going on. And this is one of the key reasons I can never support a legalized or decriminalized prostitution regime, because those explicitly break down the barriers that stand in the way of this exact mentality and this exact behavior that I'm about to describe to you. So I would categorize Johns roughly in like 4 different kind of groups and how they justify what they do. I mean, it all does come back to misogyny and hatred of prostitute men as well. But there are other various types of justifications that they use to make it right in their minds. So I guess the least worst, but still fucking problematic type is the one who says, I'm only going to pick those women who speak German and who will smile at me and then kind of hope for the best and just kind of hope that she's there by choice, right? That's type 1. And for every type of John, I'm just going to read you out one example to exemplify the mentality. These are actual words by actual Johns from forums, and you can look these up yourself if you believe I made it up. This dude says, there's nothing I can do with sympathy here. What would be the point of it? If she suffers and then I suffer too, then in the end we're both suffering. That'd be really stupid. And then I have to pay for the whole thing? Nope. Anyway, I only book women who appear to be doing well in their occupation. I want to have fun, so the woman has to convincingly convey that she's up for having fun together with me. When the woman doesn't properly do her part in a sexual encounter and just keeps bitching, it doesn't do a thing for me. So here's another thing you see here. They will prefer women who show some degree of enthusiasm, right? Regardless of whether that's real or not. But it's not so much because they care, because she's a human being, but he wants to get his rocks off. And if he's realizing that he's violating a person, that, would put a wedge in that plan, right? And I'm telling you, this is the best kind of guy you're going to get, who at the very least will not make use of her if she's not smiling. That's the best you can expect of Johns. Let me just give you 2 side notes on the girlfriend experience. One, this sort of service is extra expensive because it's extra demanding of the woman, right? Because she can't switch her head off and just let him do his thing and then be done with it. But she has to actively participate, keep reassuring him, keep showing him little signs of affection that you might have if it was a genuine relationship, right? Or at least an amicable one-night stand. The second thing that you should take away from this, so when these guys say they want a girlfriend experience, they don't actually want a woman who's got her own mind and who's got boundaries and who's saying no. Like, see how their view of relationships really fucked up? And yes, I am 100% aware there are men who have never paid for sex in their lives, and they view relationships through the exact same lens. Like, once she says yes to any sort of thing involving nudity, she should be fully submissive and basically do whatever the fuck I want. That's how they view relationships. So it's not like they are actually more respectful to girlfriends or wives. They still want basically a sex slave. Just one who keeps assuring him that she likes it. All right, moving on to type 2. What does the lovely type 2 tell us? Type 2 says, he says, her situation's none of my business. It's the brothel owners or the state's responsibility to keep it legal and clean, right? She doesn't care how I make my money, so why should I care how she does it? He's the business cold type who's I'm just here to consume. I'm not here to inspect your workplace for, I don't know, ethical standards, whatever. He just does not feel responsible. He sees the issue, but he just pushes it away. So my go-to quote is this guy who says, I don't have access to the original thread. I'm going to look it up, though. I'm not entirely sure if he's talking about the Nordic model or he's just talking about the criminalization of gens who make use of trafficking. So here's a fun fact. In Germany, until summer 2017, it was legal to buy access to a trafficked woman. This is no longer legal, and this guy is... He's talking about that, I think, and mandatory condom use, and he's saying um, there's no way to control that. If I ask a sex service provider for her price, no matter what the price is, I can't tell if she's being forced. Just take a break here, right? So you're touching a person, you're kissing a person, you're penetrating a person, you're the closest as you can be with another human being, but you can't tell if she wants you. If you can't tell that about another person, you shouldn't be touching anybody. I mean, women can bottle up how they really feel. That's possible, right? But if you already know that there's a chance, like, I mean, you do have to kill your empathy to an extent to live what this guy does. I mean, I know patriarchy socializes men into this, to kill their empathy, even when they're in a moment where you would think you'd have maximum empathy, because you'd think that a healthy, respectful human being would have maximum empathy while they're having sex. Not so much John's, not a lot of other men too. Okay, anyway, he says, right, I can't tell if she's being forced. I'm certainly not the one forcing her. And her private life is none of my concern. See, so her being trafficked is her private life. Okay, anyway. I'm talking to a woman who is for sale, so all I talk about is the experience I want to have with her, what that'll cost me, and if I feel that it's worth the cash. The sex service provider doesn't care where my money comes from and how I've earned it, whether I enjoyed making it or if I was forced to work, no matter in what form, working hours, overtime, secondary job. And neither does the job's worth politician who clamors for good reason to exist, right? Referring to the people who write the laws to make it illegal to traffic, right? So he doesn't care. And aren't we all exploited under capitalism, right? Yes, I'm sure that him working overtime at a desk is exactly the same as being penetrated by half a dozen men a day. I'm sure that feels exactly as disempowering and violating. You can't gaslight me into believing that. Third lovely group of Johns. Okay, so this guy says he's got this whole thing going where he's totally aware that the vast majority of women he's gonna access do not want him on top of her and inside her, but he'll say, look, I'm an altruist. I feed her family, right? My money protects her from her pimp, that sort of thing. I'm the good guy here. Like, the system is brutal, but my part is I'm the knight in shining armor here. Actually, kind of my heroes help put food in her mouth after I've put my dick there. He says, I'm one of these guys who visits these kinds of girls a lot, the ones with pimps, or the ones forced by poverty. Since I reckon they won't be better off if no one's fucking them, meaning if they haven't got any clients. With most of these girls, I got the impression know that they do it voluntarily and that they quite enjoy it, but who knows, it's their job after all to give you that very impression. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But it's totally not signs of a psychopath to be close to someone who you know is just putting on a show and wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole if they had the kind of money you have. And then there's this other dude, the one who goes on about protecting her from a pimp. So another annoying thing that you're going to get are these guys who want to seem smart. So they'll write these extra elaborate long sentences. Like, he writes this ridiculous sentence where he says, knowing that the use and financial rewarding of women for their services means helping or at least supporting her in her efforts to generate the necessary revenue which she requires presumably daily to avoid the reprisals of her tormentor, which presumably she would have to face day in day out if she cannot deliver the revenue expected of her. This is like idiot speak for punter money shields from pimp violence. That's what he said. I'm the good guy here because her pimp beats her up less if I pay. So I'm not taking part in an abusive system. I'm actually the shield that guards the realms of women. Ugh. Sorry for the lousy attempt at a joke. I've read these quotes so many times because I've had them to dish them out at people because people don't believe me that these are the exact justifications that Johns make, that the Johns who make use of the legal trade are knee-deep involved in trafficking and don't give a shit. They don't give a shit, guys. They don't give a shit. Last type, number 4, are those who actively participate. Like they know the woman they use does not, is under control of a trafficking ring and they don't give a fuck. They see women as so subhuman, they will actively help the pimps in breaking women's spirit. This is literally called breaking in. Like pimps and Johns call this breaking in. Like, you want to have a horse and you break its spirit, so it's going to do for you, I don't know, for a race or a circus, whatever. This is what they do to women. Right? That's a routine practice in trafficking. Before you send her onto the market, you rape her so many times that she's not going to say no to any other guy in the future. So, this guy says, be thankful that us guys over in the Rhineland laid the groundwork for you when Alyssa, name changed, was still being shared around from this escort agency. It took quite the effort to convince her to put that rubber back into her purse. Anal wasn't easy either. I had specifically made the pimp assure me that Alyssa would offer up her little bumhole, but she evidently didn't know she was supposed to. Anyway, she wanted to hear it straight from the pimp over the phone that she really had to. Even though I've thrust into tighter assholes before, the anal breaking in hurt her a lot. But with the necessary bit of pressure, I was quite able to take her hardcore style during the following dates. And this is not the only kind of quote like that you're going to find, where these guys are working directly with the pimps to break women, to literally rape them until they won't say no anymore, until they won't have any boundaries anymore. Because there's demand for that always. And here's the thing that you especially need to know, right? So type 4 of these Johns takes part in the breaking of women. Type 1 is the type who doesn't want to see any resistance, right? He will only buy access to her if she's smiling, she's showing some enthusiasm, real or fake. These types are connected, right? Why do you need to break women in? Like the type who wants to break her in likes to see some level of resistance. He likes the idea that he's the one to destroy her. That's his turn on. Type 1 wants to feel like he's basically having a date with a woman who likes him, right? How do we get a big market where women are gonna make him feel like he has that? So the connection you need to understand is that type 4 breaks women in specifically because of type 1. You need women with no resistance for the guys who don't want to see any resistance, who just want to hear, yes, baby, whatever you want, I'm into it, always, every day, anytime. So that's why I'd say there is no such thing as a good John. They all know trafficking is going on. Maybe a 16-year-old being, taken by his uncle to the brothel for the first time. Maybe he doesn't know. But any man who makes routine use of prostitution knows that he comes across women under pimp control repeatedly. And they have these 4 different excuses. And they're all complicit. And they're all fucking criminals. That's my TLDR. Just one more thing I want to say before I go. The evidence I can give you today, a lot of that wasn't collected by me. It was collected by an accident woman, a prostitution survivor. Her name is Hushka Mao. You should all go and read her blog. She's also the founder of the first ever network for women in and out of prostitution, working together, a self-help group where women support each other mentally, financially if they can, obviously underfunded. So if you can give some money, that'd be great too. They will only, no pimps, no Johns, and no abolitionists either. Only women with experience of the sex trade can join. Some who are still in, some who are out. And this is a group of women who agree that prostitution is a form of violence against women. So that's the condition. You gotta have experience in the sex trade, and you gotta view it as violence. Those are the 2 conditions to enter that group. It's the only group of its kind in all of Germany. Every other group lets other types of people join it, other political interest groups. And it's the only women only. They will not admit men, no matter how they identify. That makes it unique as well. if you can support her blog, if you can support this organization, which is the first of its kind, and it's growing right now, right? And the more money they have, the more they'll be able to support each other, right? And they're taking part in shaping the public discourse, and hopefully in the future they will help create a version of the Nordic model that works most strongly in the interests of women to disempower these assholes, whatever type 1, 2, 3, or 4, it doesn't matter. If you support the sex trade, then to some extent you support these guys and what they do. And if you say a prostitution is a job, then you embolden these guys. They are not stopped by the work ethic. I wish they were. They're not. Then instead of saying you need to break her and they say, oh, she was born for this, she was born to not have boundaries, they will always find a way to dehumanize women. If women have a price tag, and I am fully aware they can dehumanize me even if I don't have a price tag. Yeah, I know. But it becomes extra easy if there is one. So removing the price tag from women is the first step. Ideally, part of that conversation is also going to be, since we're talking about consent here and such, and men's entitlement, I mean, studying Johns, I can obviously see the parallels to how men who are not Johns, who just take part in regular dating, have a lot of the same attitudes, right? The step would be to expose Johns and simultaneously expose all the men who may not be Johns but still follow the same mentality. It should be like a dominoes. Those guys need to fall too. But we'll never get rid of the idea that women owe men sex if we don't get rid of the sex trade. We also need to get rid of marriage, guys. I'm against marriage too. I'm against anything that increases a woman's dependency on a man. Relationships where the finances are kept separate have their unique challenges too. Yeah, I know. Emotional dependency is pretty fucking powerful. I know. There's a lot we gotta work on. But it's still a fact that women in prostitution are the most murdered women on the planet. It's shitty for wives and it's shitty for girlfriends. Yeah, I know. I've watched a lot of wives. I've been a girlfriend. I know we're targets. Still, there's no target so frequently hit at as women in prostitution.